Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Community Development Block Grant Training Session on the 2020 Special Conditions. My name is Rebecca Shademan, and I am one of the representatives from the Nebraska Department of Economic Development who will be conducting this training. I'm also joined by Steve Charleston, the CDBG Program Manager, Amber Ward, and Dylan Cornett. In addition, we have the AmpliFund representatives Dan Holtz and David Burrows Johnson joining us. Before we begin, I wanted to go over a few items unique to the WebEx technology we are using today. Since we are recording this session, we have programmed the system to mute all attendees upon entry. However, if everyone could take a moment to ensure that they are muted. If you are joining by audio through your phone, please make sure your phone's muted. If you are using the technology through your computer laptop, please make sure that there is a red microphone next to your name in the right panel. Please just make sure everyone's muted. If you do have any questions during the session, please submit a question to the chat and then direct that to the host and the panelist. Amber Ward is serving as our host for this session, and she will be monitoring all of the questions that come in, and she will make sure to bring them up during the presentation so we can get those answered for you and make sure everything makes sense. We want to make sure everyone has a firm understanding of what all needs to be completed. So feel free to let us know if you have any questions. The special conditions that we'll be going over today are the grantee information sheet, the environmental review, authorization to request funds form, financial management, procurement standards, excessive force certification, fair housing, the CDBG certified administrator, limited English proficiency, and other special conditions. All of these that I just mentioned apply to every single funding source that we have awarded funding to. There are two unique special conditions that only relate to the specific opportunity. Those include the owner-occupied rehabilitation program guidelines. That's only true if you were awarded a grant through the owner-occupied rehabilitation opportunity, and the commercial rehabilitation program guidelines, and that would relate if you were awarded a grant through the downtown revitalization opportunity and you have commercial rehab as a activity. Some key deadlines that I want to remind everybody on is that special conditions are normally due 90 days after a recipient receives their notice of approval letter. So if you were awarded public works grants, your special conditions are due January 27th. Downtown revitalization, your special conditions are due February 5th. Owner-occupied rehabilitation, February 18th. Planning, February 19th. If you have questions or concerns about that deadline, please reach out to your program representative. They should have been identified within your notice of approval letter. Some of our key resources I wanted to go over before I turn this over to AmpliFund and we do a walkthrough is the Nebraska Department of Economic Development webpage for the Community Development Block Grant. You can access that at opportunities.nebraska.gov CDBG. Also AmpliFund, this is where we'll be managing all of our 2020 grants awarded, and you can access that at ne.amplifund.com. And then if you need to get a hold of anyone here at DED, I wanted to highlight where you can find our contact information. So with this, I will be showcasing our webpage. So you can access our webpage by going to opportunity.nebraska.gov/CDBG. It will look like this screen that is being viewed to you. If you scroll down, I wanted to highlight a couple features. If you want to access an AmpliFund, you can go ahead and click this link. This will take you to our AmpliFund guidance page, which will look like this. If you want to log on to AmpliFund, here is the direct link. We also have guidance on the application portal and what browsers are the best to use. We also have frequently asked questions. So if you have any questions on completing items, this is where these how-to guidance will be located at. So we have general questions here and then specific information on the community development block grant. So, and we'll be adding to this throughout the life of your grant. So next up, if you have any questions now that you are awarded a CDBG grant, I do recommend that you take a look at our grant administration manual. We have the full manual located here, or if you want to just focus on individual chapters, we also have those broken out below. If you are new to the CDBG program, I do recommend reading Chapter 2, Chapter 5, Chapter 6, and Chapter 12 initially, but eventually all the chapters may apply to you and your grant as you are implementing it. So there's quite a few chapters here. Feel free to take a look at those. Also, as part of your special conditions, you do have to have a certified administrator either hired or on staff at the local unit of government. If you are wondering who is currently certified, we do have a list up on our webpage. We just completed our full certification training this year, I think last week, and this will be updated next week, and so the list will be refreshed there. But the list will look like this. We do have it's organized by last name, and then one feature I want to highlight to everyone is that their certification expiration is listed in this last column here. Another area that we are doing with our 2020 awards is that all the special conditions will be submitted via AmpliFund, but a lot of the forms that you will be completing and then uploading can be accessed off of our webpage here. So we have our contract special condition forms and templates located here. A lot of these will be completed by you and then uploaded into AmpliFund. So you can start working on this. Our plan is to activate your awards next week. So then you will have access to complete your special conditions and upload those. But in the interim, you can still complete these forms and get everything ready to go. So these are all the contract special condition forms, except for the environmental review record. Depending on the type of project that you are completing, you have different pathways you're going to go on. And so all of those environmental review record forms are located here. So with that, I will turn it over to Dan. Amber, if you can make Daniel Holtz a presenter by moving the little ball next to my name to his name, and then he should have access. Does anyone have any questions at this point in time? Amber, have you received any?
Oh, no questions yet.
And can you see my screen okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks again for joining, everyone. Today, we wanted to start by going through some of the steps that we'll be completing in AmpliFund to submit those special conditions that Rebecca was mentioning. So what we're going to be doing today is just kind of covering some of the basics, what you're going to be doing initially when you access the system, and then how to access those special conditions forms. So the first thing that you'll receive is an activation email from AmpliFund notifying you that your award is ready and that you can log in. Now, if it's your first time logging into the system, that email will have a link and it'll prompt you to create a unique password. If you're a current or an existing AmpliFund user, you'll just be able to log in how you normally would at the URL that Rebecca mentioned, ne.amplifund.com. So upon logging in, you'll see your calendar here on the screen. And we're going to walk through a few different steps today in terms of the things that we're going to be looking at completing in AmpliFund. The first thing that we're going to be talking about is how you can add users into your AmpliFund account. You may have other individuals within your organization, within your local unit of government, that you want to be logging into the system and uploading or completing those special conditions forms. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at how to create those users. And then we're going to take a look at how you can also add external users as well. So if you have other individuals outside of your local unit of government that will be working on these forms and working on your award, I'll show you how to ask for and request access for those individuals as well. To get started though, I want to focus on how we can add users from within your local unit of government. And to do that, we're going to go to the administration section right here, click on system security and click on users. And this is going to allow us to begin to add in any additional users from within your local unit of government that you prefer. So if you have anyone else that you want to help you out working on uploading these forms, then from within your local unit of government, this is where we would add them. In order to create a brand new user, you can go into the top right-hand corner here and click on the plus sign. And this is going to allow you to create your user. A couple of things that you're going to be able to establish some preferences for your user here is you'll be able to establish the cadence that they'll be receiving, any notification emails that may be coming their way. So do you want them to receive emails on the day that something is assigned to them? Do you just want them to receive one AmpliFund email per week notifying them of things that are upcoming and things that are due? Just because you're subscribed to daily emails does not mean you're going to get an email every day from AmpliFund. This is only to receive emails on the day that something is either assigned to you or something is due. You can select one or you can select both. It's up to you. The next checkbox that you'll have here is applicant portal access. So as you're adding in new users, checking this box on is what allows this new user that you're adding to access the application that you filled out. If you just want this person involved on the post award side and you don't want them to have visibility or access into this or any of your other applications, then I would leave this box unchecked. But if you don't mind, then go ahead and just check this box and they'll be able to access the application that the award was made off of. To complete user creation, there's 3 required fields. You'll see that there's a number of optional fields here. But at a bare minimum, what we need to create a user is we need to have the user's first name, their last name, and we need an email address for this person as well. So especially if this is somebody within your local unit of government, it'll be most likely whatever the work email is for your organization, for your agency. The email address will also become this person's username. So when we invite them into the system, they'll just be prompted to create a password and their username will always be your email address. So these are the steps that are required to create a new user in the system. Again, there's a lot of optional fields here to populate, but at a bare minimum, we need to have a first name, a last name, and an email address in order to create a user. So since I have those fields populated, I'm going to go ahead and click on create. And I can see that I've created my new user here. Now, one thing that I'll mention is that just because we've created a user, it doesn't mean that this user can automatically gain access into the system. There's one more step that's required in order for us to provide access to this user. And that is that we have to invite this user into the system. So we've created this user. And now if I want this person to gain access and log into AmpliFund, I'm going to go ahead in the top right-hand corner and I'm going to find the little envelope icon and I'm going to click send invitation. And it's going to tell me, are you sure you want to send them an invitation? I'm going to say yes. And now this user will receive an email from AmpliFund inviting them into the system, prompting them to create a unique password. And then You can repeat those steps if there's any additional users. There's no limit to the number of users that you can have within your AmpliFund account. If you want to add more users, then again, just continue the steps. Remember the administration section, system security, users. Here you'll see a list of all existing users already in your account. One thing I like about this list right here is it also shows you for every user you can manage and you can verify and view, okay, has this person been sent an invitation? Have they logged in yet? So a couple of good tools there. And then if you want to create a brand new user, just follow the same steps that we just did. Top right-hand corner, click on the plus sign, add in the first name, last name, email address, and then hit that envelope icon to invite them in. So that is the process of creating users in your account. And that's the process that you should be going through when it comes to adding additional users from within your local unit of government. Now, it's very likely that we'll want to add users or add individuals from outside of your local unit of government. You want to add some external users. There may be individuals that are helping manage the awards, and there's a separate process to request access for those individuals. So let's take a look at that process and how we can request access for those particular individuals. In order to get that process started, we're going to use this left navigation menu and go to the grant management section and click on grants. So by doing this, you'll be able to see your actual award right here. And in order to get the process started of adding in your special conditions, but also, as I mentioned, requesting access for that user, we're going to go in and we're actually going to look at this award. We're going to click into it by clicking on the name. You'll notice that the name is always going to be hyperlinked here. So we click on the name, and there's a lot of good details here that we'll be seeing in terms of what your award is and how much you've been awarded. But for now, I want to focus on a couple of distinct actions, distinct tasks that we'll be completing. And the first one is how we can request access for that external user. So there's actually a form that DED has put together for you in order to request access. And you can find that form in the custom tab right here. So if you look at the top and click on the drop-down menu, you'll see your special conditions forms, which we'll get to here shortly, but you'll also see a external user consent form. So if you want to request access for an external user into your AmpliFund account, then you'll be able to click on this form right here. And this form, and this will take you into the area where you can start submitting requests and adding in requests for external users. So you'll be brought to this page right here, and in order to generate and submit a form, you'll go to the top right-hand corner and you'll go to the plus sign. You'll notice some consistency here in terms of the buttons that you'll be clicking, whether it's creating a user, whether it's adding in a new form. Then you will be going to that top right-hand corner and locating a plus sign to add new items. So within this external user consent form, there's a set of distinct instructions here. So make sure that you read the steps closely and you follow these steps as you're going through. And then there are required fields that you'll have to be populating here. So you'll be having to populate what your contract number is here. So this should all be very familiar to those that have their contract numbers handy. You'll put in your organization name, and you'll type in your full award name as well. The next section here is where you'll be able to enter in information about the user that you want added. So you'll put in their organization name. You'll type in what their first name is, their last name, and then their email address. This is what's going to allow DED to get this user created. As you saw, when users get created in the system, at a bare minimum, we need this type of information. Here at the bottom of the screen, you'll see where you can provide an electronic signature. So go ahead and type in your name, check the box, indicate the date that you're signing this. So I'll just choose today's date from the little calendar icon right here. And then go ahead and click on create in order to create this request. So upon creating and submitting this request, DED will be in receipt of your request, and the turnaround time to get these users created is 1 business day. And the user will be notified and will be sent an invitation into the system once their user record is created. You may have more than one individual that you want to be added in here. So you can just go ahead, and if you have another person that you want to request access for, just go to the top right-hand corner, locate the plus sign here, click on create, and you'll be able to add in another form. You'll be able to add in another request. So just keep in mind, you'll have to fill out the same fields. You have to put in your contract number. You have to put in the organization name, your award name, and then you'll put in the new user's organization, first name, last name, email address. You'll have to sign again, and then you'll be able to put in the date that you sign. So you can go ahead and you can repeat this process for all users that need to be added. And the turnaround time of getting these individuals added is 1 business day. So I'm sure a lot of us out there already know that we're going to have some external individuals helping us out. So make sure that you're utilizing this area of the system to put in a formal request to have that user added in.
Thanks, Dan. I just wanted to provide a little bit of clarification on this. So the Community Development Block Grant can only award funding out to local units of government. So we have to set up the awards to be associated with that local unit of government. So we are using initially the contact information identified in the application of that local unit of government's local contact. And I believe several of those applications were prepared by external organizations. So for example, if I am the City of Columbus and I am a member of the Northeast Nebraska Development District, and I am planning on having them be my certified administrator, this external user consent form would need to be completed to give that representative from the Northeast Nebraska Development District access to log in and have access to this grant management system for this project. Hopefully that makes sense. We had a couple of questions come in. And one thing, Dan, if you could open that form again. For consistency, when you are identifying your organization, I know several of the development districts go by acronyms and sometimes they're spelled out. For this initial setup, if you could spell out your entire organization name and then put in parentheses the acronym, that would be very helpful. So then we can get this all set up accurately and we don't have multiple users with different organization names. So you would type out Northeast Nebraska Development District and then in parentheses put NDED. Amber, have we received any additional questions?
We have not.
Okay, so just want to reiterate, if you are a local unit of government, one of the first things that you will need to do is to determine who your users will be needing access for this, and whether they are local unit government representatives or if they are external users. Please complete this first so then everybody can get in as soon as possible. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. I appreciate that. So once we have all of our users indicated and added, let's talk about, what our next steps are and how we can access our special conditions forms and how we can get those submitted. So you've already kind of gotten a sneak peek at where those forms live. They live in this custom tab. It's the same place where you're accessing the external user consent forms. And really the actions that you'll be taking to access the forms and then, create forms or look at it, upload information is going to be fairly similar. So we go in this custom tab here, you can access, you'll see all of the special conditions forms that pertain to your award that you'll have to be completing. And you can get started by clicking on any of them and going in and actually, looking at the form and filling it out themselves. So where I'm going to get started today is we can get started looking at the grantee information form. So go ahead and click on the grantee information sheet. That'll bring you into that page. And from within the grantee information sheet, you'll see I already have one that's filled out here that we're going to walk through. But again, the process of adding in your grantee information form or any of your special conditions forms is you'll be going to the top right-hand corner here and clicking on the plus sign. Since I already have one created, let's go through this one in edit mode and we can take a look at what it looks like and how we can fill it out. So when you click on the plus sign to create, you'll see exactly this, but it'll be blank. It just so happens that I already have one that we're looking at. So you'll see some instructions provided at the top. This is going to be pretty consistent. Depending on the actual special condition we're looking at, the instructions will vary. You'll start scrolling down and seeing areas of information, areas and fields that will need to be populating. And again, I want to emphasize, as we're looking at the different fields and the different areas that we need to populate here, please note that anything that has an asterisk is a required field. So you will not be able to save a form or you will not be able to submit a form unless the required fields are populated. So the first thing that you're going to need to enter in here is going to be your CDBG grant number. And you'll notice this is going to be consistent across all of your special conditions forms. With the first field, the first section within every form is going to ask you for this grant number. So make sure that we're filling out the grant number accordingly. Make sure also that it's filled out the same way. So, the 20 EW001 as the example, no dashes, no spaces, complete it like this. If you need to reference, where if you need to reference that, what your number is, it's on your AmpliFund grant. It's on your award. It's in the award identification number field. So you'll be able to reference this in your contract. It's going to be on your grant record in AmpliFund. You'll be able to see this very clearly and enter it in accordingly. You'll be asked to enter in your federal tax ID number, and it's a required field, and there's also formatting suggestions here as well. So for the federal tax ID number, the 2 digits, the dash, and then the rest of it. Your 9-digit DUNS number, you'll have to enter that as well. Enter in the name of the local government grantee. So this is going to be, your name here. And then you'll be able to indicate using any of these radio buttons, city, village, or county. And then there's a full list of all counties, cities, and villages down here. So scroll through and find the one that pertains to you and go ahead and, type that in and enter that in.
And we made this a checkbox option for the counties because we were aware that there are some communities we have awarded grants to in the past that reside in more than one county, and sometimes 3. So if you are one of those communities, just make sure you check each county that your local unit of government resides in. Oftentimes we are requested by the legislature to provide a report out on the funding awards that we have issued based on county. So that is why we are requesting this information.
Once the county is selected or multiple counties are selected, you'll be asked to provide some basic address information for the local government. So go ahead and type in address line 1, address line 2, if applicable. Again, keep in mind the required fields are the ones that have an asterisk next to them. Type in your city name, select the state. Nebraska will populate as the first option in the dropdown, so it'll default to Nebraska. But you can choose something for the dropdown if it's not. Postal code, type in your postal code there, and then you'll have to start indicating some of the responsible individuals here within your grantee information sheet. So here you can start entering who either the mayor, chairperson, or city manager is. You'll be able to use these radio buttons here to select, okay, what's the title of the person that I'm adding? Is it the mayor, the chairperson, or the city manager? And then so check the box accordingly. And then you'll be prompted to type in their first name, their last name, and their email address here. So again, required fields, we'll have to type in either the mayor, chairperson, city manager, first name, last name, and email address. You just type them directly into these fields. And you'll also have to identify the clerk. You'll have to identify the clerk's first name, last name, email address, as well as the clerk's phone number. And when you're entering the phone number, again, keep in mind the formatting requirement, the formatting suggestion here, with the hyphens. So once the mayor, chairperson, or city manager is identified, the information is populated, the clerk is identified with their first name, last name, email, and phone number. We can scroll down to the next section, which is the local government CDBG contact. And again, there's instructions and there's guidance embedded within pretty much all of these forms. So if you're unsure of something, definitely refer to the first place to refer to is some of the guidance that's provided here. So for the local government CDBG contact, you'll be prompted to type in a contact person's first name, last name. You can add in their title, and then there's additional address information, phone number, and email address for this person as well. And this person, as stated kind of in the guidance here, the person from the local government, this is the person that will serve as a day-to-day contact for the grant. So in addition here, we have the LEP representative, and similar to what we've seen before for the LEP representative here, we have the first name, last name, email, and phone number. Again, with the same formatting recommendation on the phone number. So make sure that for the LEP representative, we're completing these required fields and we're adding in those pieces of information for them as well.
Hey, Dan, could you scroll up a little bit to one of the full address sections? Yep. We received a question on how someone should be completing address line 1 and address line 2. For address line 1, that should be the physical address. So if we have to come and visit that local unit of government, we would like to know where the office building is. And then address line 2 is the PO box number. And we'll be putting together instructions with these notes here too, but as you guys are working on these and preparing everything and gathering information, wanted to let you know verbally, but we'll have a document put together and sent out to remind everybody.
Thanks, Rebecca. So the fair housing representative here, first name, last name, phone number, an email address. Again, just like some of the basic contact information we've been completing before. There's nothing too different here. Now this next section is the section 504 coordinator. So you'll be prompted to answer this question, yes or no, if they employ 15 or more people. So if not, then select no, and you can move on to the next section. However, if yes, then if you select yes here, then you will have to populate the first name, last name, email, and phone number for the section 504 coordinator. Moving on here, there's the CDBG Certified Administrator section where we'll be prompted to enter in that contact information for that individual. So we'll be putting in the name of the firm here, the full name, as Rebecca mentioned earlier. And then whoever the certified administrator is from that firm, go ahead and their first name, last name, address fields here, their phone number, and their email address. So in terms of the contact information for the CDBG Certified Administrator, everything is pretty consistent with what we've seen so far with the other contact information that's being requested on this form. Because they're the Certified Administrator, there are a couple additional fields that we'll want to fill out here as well. So we have our the ability to indicate, are they certified or are they conditionally certified? We have to provide the certification date, and we have to provide the date that that certification expires. And in addition to that, we will have to populate and upload the letter from the chief elected official identifying the CDBG certified administrator here.
So for that letter, you will need to, that's coming from the local unit of government, so it's on their letterhead. And then the chief elected official signs it, and the contents of the letter is they are identifying the firm or the entity, the person that will be the certified administrator, and also how they procured for that certified administrator. So to go along with my earlier example of having a staff member from Northeast Nebraska Development District, they would indicate that they are a member of that development district, and that person A will be the certified administrator for this project. So, and that letter will need to be uploaded to us. And this kind of starts the formatting for any attachments that you are uploading. Please include the local unit of government name, and then the grant number, and then identify what that attachment is. So as you can see in my example, I have Columbus 20PW001, and then this is the documentation for the certified administrator. So if you can follow that format for your anything that you're uploading, it's very helpful and helps us to quickly assess all of the attachments, because we do download them to review them, and so we don't have to second guess ourselves. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's important to keep in mind the naming convention there. And also throughout the forms, certain fields may have these little tooltips that accompany them. So there may be some additional instructions embedded within these little tooltips. So anywhere you see the little circle with the I in it, feel free, you can hover your mouse over that icon and you'll get some additional instructions as well. So additional sections here on the grantee information form. You'll see other persons to receive copies of all correspondence. You'll be able to go ahead and select what type they are, and then, and especially even if they're other, you can select other. So if there's something not on this list, you'll be able to click here, and then you'll be able to type that in here, and then just provide whatever information may pertain to that individual if you have someone else that needs to be in receipt of the correspondence here. And those fields that we'll have to populate for that individual is going to be, again, consistent with what we've seen before. Name of their firm, first name, last name, address, phone number, and email. And likewise, in this next section here on the grantee information form, you'll have the additional contact section, which is, again, going to prompt you or going to provide you with the ability to add in any additional contacts that you may want to be included in any correspondence. So that takes us to the bottom portion of this form. This is also going to be something that we're going to be seeing universally across all of our different special conditions forms, and it's the form completion section. So this is going to allow you to indicate whether or not this form is complete and ready for submission. You'll select either yes or no here, and you'll indicate the date. So on some of these forms, you may be working on them. You may not be fully complete. DED will be able to view when forms have been completed, and a lot of that is going to be driven off of what you indicate here. So if this is something that you're filling out, and if this is something that you're still working on, you want to save and come back to it later, go ahead and check no right here. This is not a required field, so you don't have to put in the date if you're just saving and moving on. You can click save, and you can always come back to it. So I'm going to do that here. I'm going to select no, and I'm going to say, maybe I want to add in an additional contact later, but I'm not sure who it is yet. So let me save so I don't lose the work that I've already done, and I can come back to it a little later. So go ahead and click that save button. Once you do that, you'll be brought back to your main page of grantee information, of your grantee information special conditions forms. You'll be able to see the form that you've completed. You'll be able to see everything you've done. And then once you're ready to go back in and add in additional information, you can go back into the form by clicking the pencil icon here to get it back into edit mode. This is going to open the form up again for you. You can scroll down. You can add in whatever information you need to. I'm just going to scroll back to the bottom. And then once you are done and once you're ready for submission, go ahead and click on the yes option. Type in the date that you've completed this. Use the calendar icon to put in the date. And go ahead and click on save. Once you click save, again, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Oh, hey, Dan, we did receive a question regarding what happens when there is a change of chief elected official or clerk or other representative who is working on this project. So we have made the determination that if you have a change in leadership or a representative who should be notified on this, you would actually create a brand new grantee information sheet and then have that updated. So then we have record of who was your original person at time of special conditions and then who was the new person that you are changing it to, and we'll be able to see the turnover that is occurring, so we can keep an eye on maybe you guys need additional assistance, especially if there is turnover with that certified administrator or local contact representative. So we'll be able to do that. So you would just create a brand new form.
All right. Are there any other questions about the grantee information form before we move on to the next one? Oh, all right.
We don't have any new questions.
Excellent. Thanks, Amber. All right. So again, we want to move on, and we want to fill out some more special conditions forms. So just like the external user consent form that we saw already, the grantee information form, all of our forms are located here under the custom tab. So navigate to the custom tab, scroll down, and find the next form that we want to look at. And the next form that I want to look at now is the environmental review form. So let's go ahead and click on that. We can get it open. And again, with the environmental review form, I already have one that I've completed here that we can take a look at. When you want to create your new form, you'll go into the top right-hand corner and click on the plus sign. That is going to allow you to create a new form. Since I already have one completed, I'm just going to go and I'm going to click on the edit icon here, which is going to allow me to open this up so that we can review it. So here's the environmental review form. You'll notice some of the formatting and a lot of the interface is very similar to what we've seen with the other forms, just different because this is a different form. So you'll notice here at the top of the page, it's providing you with the CDBG forms link, so you'll be able to access any forms that need to be uploaded here. It provides some instructions about when you're uploading the files. Signatures need to be in blue ink, so the files need to be scanned in color. And then we have the HUD environmental review procedures link here as well. You can just click on it and it'll take you right to it. This project information section here at the top is very similar, again, to what we've already seen in terms of, on some of the other forms where it's going to ask us for our CDBG grant number. We need to type this in the same way we've typed it in before. Ask us for our project name, program year, and project location. So a lot of consistency here. Make sure we're entering in the information in a similar format across all of our CDBG forms.
And if you've worked on a environmental review record in the past, those questions seem familiar because that's usually what appears on the cover sheet. So if that helps you correlate how to complete that section, it's similar to how you completed the cover sheet in past years.
So here in this first section, the ERR description, you have some guidance up here at the top. You have access and you have a link into the administration manual, the chapter with the environmental review. And then you have a text box here that allows you to type in your project description. And again, please note that anywhere that we have here, the little icon, this provides some additional guidance. So this is telling us that for this project description, we can come in here and just type in a couple of sentences about our project. In terms of looking at the text box, I can see here that I have a lot more text than what fits in the box. You can always take your mouse and just kind of move this down. So if you wanted to see the full box as you're typing in, not a problem. You can go ahead and do that. And then you have a section here to upload the full project description. And as Rebecca mentioned before, when we are uploading documents, it's very important that we maintain this naming convention for any documents that we're saving and uploading. So we want to have the name of the local organization, we want to have the grant name, and then we want to have a little description of what the actual document is. So keep that in mind when saving and when uploading documents here, to have that naming convention for all of our documents.
And just to point out that project description with the associated text box, that's just a really brief synopsis. The full project description identifying several items, which we have guidance in our administration manual on page 5 of chapter 6, where we need to identify the purpose and need for the project, the national objective, the exact location of the project, and what's going on with it. There's probably about 10 bullet points there. you would need to make sure that your project description adheres to, that will be uploaded into the system. And again, for the environmental review record, any items that you are uploading, please use the acronym ERR, and then use an additional identifier of what you are updating. So as you can see with this one, with a full project description, I associated my file name with project description, so it's easy for both everyone to understand what was uploaded. So thank you.
Along with the project description and the upload here for the environmental review, the preparer information needs to be populated as well. So please make sure that we're entering in the first name, the last name, and the title of the review preparer here. We have the responsible entity as well. So the responsible entity certifying officer, first name, last name, and title. Make sure that that is included. Again, you'll note here on this part of the form that that these are required fields. So make sure that we're populating these fields as we're filling out, the preparer information and the responsible entity.
Hey, Dan, I did receive a question. Are uploads always in PDF format? My understanding is that uploads can be in a Word, an Excel, a PDF document. Are you aware of any other additional formats that uploads can be made in?
Those are the main ones. There are some other ones. There's a list on our support site that provides a list of supported documents, but we support all of the ones you just named.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, it's a good question. For the upload, yep, sorry.
Sorry, Dan, I'll take over because I think we're starting to get into more details on the program. So the determination of level review, this is another form that needs to be completed. So for my project, and our example is that we're constructing a brand new library in the city of Columbus. So that review type is an environmental assessment. So we selected the environmental assessment in the radial buttons. Next up, we will need to upload the signed and completed determination level of review. And that should be signed by the preparer and the chief elected official in blue ink. And please remember that the chief elected official should not be signing that document prior to the preparer. He should always sign either the same date or after. And we want you to notate those dates on these drop-down date fields there. Thank you. That would be very helpful. And then next up, so we made this form to address every potential type of environmental review record. So for our project, it is a environmental assessment, so it is non-exempt. So all you have to do for this one is answer that first required question: does the project need to complete the exempt environmental review record? Our answer is no. If it was a project that was doing an exempt review record, we would indicate yes, and then complete the following items in this section. But if you could scroll down a little bit, Dan. Same with environmental review type, categorically excluded, not subject to. You only have to complete one environmental review record type. So for our example on this one, this does not apply to our project, so we're clicking no. And then same with categorically excluded subject to CEST. And if you scroll down a little bit more, we click no on this one because we're completing an environmental assessment. And then scroll down a little bit more. So we'll talk about everything in the environmental assessment EA, unless someone from the attendees wishes for us to dive into another one of the environmental review records. Please let us know via the chat. but we'll start off with environmental assessment. So we indicated in the radial button that yes, we had to complete an environmental assessment, and then we have the forms required that we need to complete. And all these forms are located on the department's website for you to access, similar to how you've done environmental review records in the past. And again, notate the file naming structure. So everything has Columbus, the grant number, and then the acronym ERR, and then a further identification of what that document being uploaded is. So these should all be signed by the local unit of government. And then for some of your projects, you may not have the 8-step process triggered, so that's okay. You can just leave it blank. For this one, I just filled out as much as possible. Everyone should be completing the timing summary worksheet. We do have those on our website right now for you, hopefully to be helpful. The certification of continued environmental compliance form, it's very rare for a project to use this, especially when this is the first time you are being awarded. However, if you think that your project qualifies to be using this form, please contact your program representative. But for the majority of the projects we've funded, this will be left blank at this point in time. Now, if later on with your project, if you are expanding your activities within it, you may have to complete this form, and you would just upload this form here. One thing I want to note with everybody is that the date the environmental review document is signed by the preparer and the chief elected official, they should have, this should be a different date from your determination level of review. So in years past, we've allowed folks to use the same date to sign all of the forms all at once. That's no longer being allowed, so it should be separate dates. And then if I think we're getting some questions in, so let me check the questions coming in. Remember to sign all forms in blue ink. That's very helpful for us. And I think those were all the questions there. Dan, if you could scroll down. When you are conducting your environmental assessment or evaluating all those 14 regulations, you might have triggered, determined that based off of one of the responses from those regulations of review, that your environmental review has gone up a level to environmental impact statement. If you have made that determination, please contact your program rep immediately. Usually environmental impact statements are longer, long projects, and are not conducive with our 2-year agreement. So we would need to discuss this immediately. Once you are done with completing this form, it's all good. Again, here is that has the special conditions environmental review, complete and ready for submission. You can click yes for that. Overall, the entire environmental review record can be a copy to us, submitted through this form. However, if you are completing a CEST or a environmental assessment, an EA, and you have the request for release of funds certification form, we do need the original copy mailed to us. And we will not be able to issue release of funds unless that is mailed to us. It is a requirement under the regulations that we need to retain a copy of that. But everything else can be uploaded to this. And you will also be uploading a copy that will trigger the counting for the days for timing. Does anyone have any questions on that, or want us to maybe focus a little bit more on another environmental review record?
No questions have come in about that yet, Rebecca.
Okay, thank you. I'm not seeing any either on my side. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to the next special condition. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. So again, when you're done completing your form, you can click on save, indicate that you've completed it. just like the other forms that we've looked at, you'll be able to save without having the form complete, so that if you're continually working on it, you'll be able to kind of save it, come back to it later by navigating to the same path, the same areas. So that was the environmental review form. The next form that we're going to take a look at is the authorization to request funds. And again, all of your special conditions forms are going to be accessible through this custom tab here at the top. So you'll be able to click on the drop down. You'll be able to find the form you're looking for. So in this case, it's the authorization to request funds. You'll be able to click on the form, and it's going to bring you to the same type of page and the same type of layout where we have our authorization to request funds form. It's going to populate here. So again, I have one that I've already completed just to show you today. And in order to create a new form, you go to the top right-hand corner, you click on the plus sign here, and you'll be able to fill out your authorization to request funds. I'm just going to click on the pencil icon to edit my existing form, and we can see what this looks like. So for the authorization to request funds, again, this should be no surprise to anybody, especially after looking at the first couple of forms that we did. CDBG grant number is the first field that we'll be populating. And this grant number should be populated with no hyphens. So I have my 20PW001 right here. When we're talking about the authorization to request funds, we have our authorized person, first name, last name, title. And then we have our second authorized person, first name, last name, title. The instruction here is, this form is a little bit different because aside from these fields that we're filling out, we are accessing, the link to our form, the authorization to request funds form. We are completing that, and then we're just uploading it here into this area. And we're indicating with the date field, the date that the authorization is signed. So again, you'll be able to access the form that needs to be completed by navigating here and clicking on this link, fill that form out, again, signatures, and then upload it back in using the same naming convention that we've been talking about so far. Indicate the date that authorization was signed by using the date icon. And then again, here at the bottom, you'll have the ability to use these radio buttons to indicate, is my authorization to request funds form complete and uploaded? Yes. Indicate the date that it's been completed, and you'll be able to click save to get that submitted.
Now, for the date authorization was signed, for example, if you have your mayor sign it on Tuesday and then the clerk signed it on Thursday, you would use the latest date that was notated on the form. So you would use the date of Thursday on there. And then this form, maybe there is a change in the mayor or the clerk during the life of the grant, you would just create a brand new form when that happens, similar to the grantee information sheet. So anytime someone changes, you would just create a brand new form. And this form is important because these are the individuals that we would need to have sign the drawdown for us to then release funding back to the grantee and have access to the grant funds. So very important form. So this needs to be kept up to date. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. So when you've completed this form, go ahead and click on save. Just like we had before, you'll be able to see it here on your list of forms that we've completed. One other thing that I'll note is that Rebecca already mentioned, if there's a change in the contact person or anything, just create a new form and indicate who the new person is, and and fill everything out to completion. So in order to do that, just click on the plus sign here, and you'll be able to generate a new form that you can populate to indicate that change. So the next form that we're going to take a look at is going to be our financial management certification form. So again, we're just accessing everything here under this custom tab, and I'm going to navigate and I'm going to find my financial management certification form. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. That's going to bring me into my financial management certification sheet right here. And again, to create your financial management certification form, click on the plus sign to get that started and get that created. Since this one is already created, I'm just going to click on the pencil icon so that we can edit it and we can take a look at it. So we have our CDBG grant number. We're typing here in the beginning, just like we have. And then this is pretty similar to the authorization to request funds form, just without some of the other fields to populate, where we're using this form, we're accessing the financial mint certification document here. We're completing it, and then we are uploading our completed financial management certification here. And we are indicating the date that it was signed. So again, on this form, less fields to actually type into and fill out. This is more of kind of accessing the document, filling the document out, and then uploading it here in order to share the completed version with your DED program rep. And again, here at the bottom, you'll have the ability to indicate whether this is ready for submission or not. And this should be pretty straightforward. You just, again, indicate that it's ready to go, type in the date of completion, and then click on save. So after we look at the financial management certification form, we're going to move on and we're going to talk about the procurement form. So I'm going to go ahead and again, access my special conditions from the custom tab at the top. And here, what we're going to take a look at now is the procurement code of conduct. So in order to access where I can complete this form, I just click there. It's going to take me to my procurement code of conduct form here. Again, I already have one that's populated. To create a new form, I go to the top right-hand corner and click on the plus sign in order to create and start a new form. Let's click on the pencil icon, which is going to allow me to edit and look at my existing form. So this is we're starting to see very similar to the financial management certification form. The one field that we're going to have to populate here at the top is our grant number. We're provided with a link to the form and the document that we have to fill out. So we click on the link here to access that, populate it, fill it out, and then get that uploaded back in our upload section here. And then also use the date field to indicate the date of adoption for the procurement code of conduct. And then down here at the bottom, indicating whether this has been completed and ready for submission to your program rep and entering the date.
So we did receive a question on if a community is a repeat recipient and has this form already completed, can they resubmit that form? And the answer is yes. Please just save it with the unique identifier as we are showing here. And please make sure that it is the most current one. On our website, the last time that we updated this form template was back in January 2017. So if it was signed back if it references in the footer on that template of the official one signed by your mayor, different date from January 2017, you should have it re-signed and then use the most current form. Also, I would consult with the local unit of government. They may wish to, if there has been a change in leadership with the local unit of government, they may want the current chief elected official to sign off on this to just kind of readhere that that is what is being followed.
So when we complete this form, just like the other ones, we'll go ahead and we'll click on the save button there to get that form saved in. And the next form that we're going to look at is the excessive force certification. So again, we're going to access our special conditions form from the custom tab and scroll down, and I'll click on the excessive force certification to access and be able to complete that form.
Hey, this is Amber. I was going to ask a question really quick that we received. Does it matter if we access the special condition documents directly from the website or from the link? Does it matter either way?
It does not matter.
Thank you.
Either one is good. Thank you.
That's a really good question. So when we're looking at our excessive force certification form here, we'll be able to, again, create a new one by going into the top right-hand corner and clicking on the plus sign. Let's take a look at my existing form. So for the excessive force certification, we'll be required, again, to type in the grant number with the same formatting that we've been using throughout. Access to the form through this link, which takes you to the website where you'll be able to access the form that you can populate, upload the completed version here, identify the date that the certification was made by using our calendar picker here, and then once this is complete and ready for a submission to your program rep, checking the box yes and entering in the date.
And similar with the procurement special condition, this is a form we have not updated for several years. So if you have been a past recipient and you currently have this on record with the local unit of government, and the local unit of government is good with using a form signed by a previous mayor, maybe this is from 5 years ago, that is fine to re-upload the one that is on record and being followed and adhered to by the local unit of government. So, or the local unit of government may prefer to re-sign all of these because it's a brand new grant. So we will accept older forms that were executed or brand new ones. Steve, do you have anything you want to add to that, or did I cover it? I know we talked about this beforehand.
No, that covers it, Rebecca. Thanks for asking.
Thank you.
And when this form is complete and you've indicated that it's been completed, you go ahead and click on save, just like we've been doing throughout with the other special conditions forms. If you've indicated that it's been completed with the date, then your program rep will be aware of that, and they'll be able to review it. So the next one that we're going to look at here is our fair housing form. Accessing the fair housing form is relatively straightforward. Again, we're going into this custom tab. We're finding whatever form we're looking at. So in this scenario, it's the fair housing one, and we're clicking on it. And here is our fair housing form. To create a new one, we're going to go up here, click on the plus sign to create a new form. I'm going to look at our existing form by clicking on the pencil icon to edit it. This is going to bring us our fair housing form here for our special conditions fair housing form. The first field is the CDBG grant number. And then we're provided again with a link here to Chapter 5 of the Administration Manual. And then there's a narrative text box here that we should be completing that will indicate the actions that will be taken during the grant period to meet the special conditions requirement. So you'll be able to type directly into this text box. Again, when you want to make this text box larger, you can just kind of hover your mouse over it till you get these arrows and you can expand it accordingly. And you'll also be required and prompted to upload documentation of your fair housing action.
So that documentation should be on letterhead, and then also should identify all of the fair housing actions that are being proposed by the local unit of government, and the chief elected official signs it, just like that has been done in the past if you are a previous recipient. So nothing's really changed on this one, just the only thing that's shifted is how you are submitting this form.
And once you're done with this, you'll be indicating that it's ready for submission, entering in the date of completion, and clicking save. And then the next form that we'll be moving on to is the LEP form. So again, when we're ready to go and we are ready to access our LEP form on the special conditions, I'm going to go ahead and click onto the form. And we can take a look at our LEP form. I can click on the plus sign here to create my new form. I can click on the pencil icon to see this in an editable format, what I already have populated. So again, we have our CDBG grant number, which is always going to be our first and required field here at the top. You'll be asked to upload the 4-factor analysis and language assistance plan here. And you'll have to answer the question after the 4-factor analysis, was completing a language assistance plan necessary? Yes or no?
This document was submitted at the time of application, but if your program representative noticed maybe you're using very out of date data references, or maybe you did not actually answer one of the 4 questions, they'll be reaching out to you to provide clarification. If you don't receive any clarification from your program representative, go ahead and just re-upload what was submitted at the time of application. That is completely fine. And if you're not sure if it's good or not good, reach out to your program representative and they can help you out. So.
And again, when you're done and when you've completed it, you'll be able to indicate that here and indicate the dates of LEP completion. And click on Save to lock those changes in. That was the limited English proficiency form. We're going to move on to the owner-occupied rehabilitation program guidelines form. You'll be able to see that again in the custom tab drop-down, clicking on the name of the form that we're looking for here. It's going to bring us to the form itself. We can create a new one by clicking on the plus sign. I'm going to just click on edit and look at the form that we already have built in here. And, consistent with what we've seen, we have our CDBG grant number. Note that this is a different number because of the nature of the form. But again, you'll be required to upload the rehab program guidelines as well as the guidelines checklist here. And just, again, noting, the naming convention in terms of how we should be naming our forms when they're being uploaded. Once we're done uploading, we'll go ahead and click, we'll fill out that we've completed this, enter in the date. We'll go ahead and click on Save. And the next form we're going to take a look at is our commercial rehab program guidelines form. Again, accessible through the custom tab. I'm going to click on commercial rehabilitation program guidelines to provide me with access into that form. When I want to create a new one, I'm going to click on the plus sign to create my form. And when it comes to actually filling out the form, again, first thing that we're looking at here, we have to populate our grant number, and we are just utilizing this required field here where we'll upload the commercial rehab program guidelines. When we're done, we're going to indicate that we've completed it. I'll click on save. And now we'll take a look at the final special conditions form that we'll be reviewing today, which is our other special conditions form. So again, to access that, we'll go into the custom tab, locate the form that we're looking to complete, other special conditions. We're going to go ahead and click on the form here. And when you need to create a form for your other special conditions, you'll click on the plus sign. I already have form completed that we can take a look at here. So let's go ahead and do that. Should be no surprise to anyone that the first field here that's required is we have to enter in the CDBG grant number. And then we just have a number of options here if we need to upload or provide additional other special conditions.
So normally your other special conditions are listed in the contractual agreement. If you don't have other special conditions listed in there, please don't add additional files in here unless you consulted your program rep. Hopefully that'll make sense. So in your contract, we'll have other special conditions. It's usually like 2.11, I believe. And then underneath of that, there will be a list of additional special conditions that the grantee will need to complete, or it will say none. So if it says none, you would not be completing this section.
And if you are completing this section, go ahead and fill this out accordingly and save this form just like we've saved and we've completed, all the other special conditions forms. So in terms of kind of being in AmpliFund today, there were three main things that we looked at how to accomplish. One was we looked at how to add in users from within our local unit of government. So if there's additional staff members that we need to add, we went to the administration, system security, and users section, and we added in, other users from other staff members from within our local unit of government. When it comes to requesting access for external users, we talked about how to leverage and how to complete the external user consent form and filling that out. Fill one form out for each user you want to add into your account to help you manage your award. And those will be completed within a business day. And then we spent the majority of our time going through and looking at how to access these special conditions forms and how to add them and how to complete them.
Thank you, Dan. Just want to let everyone know, as you saw at the end of each form, we have the question, is this special condition completed and ready to be reviewed? And you indicated yes or no, and then also dated it. Along with that completion, once you are completed with every single special condition identified in your contractual agreement, please send an email off to your program representative letting them know that all of the special conditions have now been submitted in the AmpliFund and are ready for review. That will be an additional notification. You'll do that via email to us. And we just don't have an alert system for this, so we just don't want to miss having everything completed. So I think I covered all of the general items on the forms. I'm going to turn it over to some additional questions we did receive. Our first question is, if a community, can a community reuse an excessive force and procurement policy, or is this limited to the procurement only? So we have special condition forms that are not specific to grant award. They're general documents that the local unit of government needs to be in compliance. So right now, from top of my mind, is excessive force and procurement. You can reuse those if the local unit of government have signed those previously for an older grant award. Just make sure that those forms had not been updated in the interim. So you have to make sure that it's the most recent form to use, and then also verify with the local unit of government that they are good with using a form that is signed by potentially a chief elected official who is no longer there. So you need to make sure that it's in compliance with the overall procedures of that local unit of government. So the local unit of government may want that to be updated anytime there's a chief elected official change. So please confirm that. We did receive another question of, if a community has received 2 grants this year, do you have to do 2 separate fair housing actions? So yes, if you received a public works award, you have, and it's for the town of Scottsbluff, for example, then you would have to do 1 fair housing action for that public works grant. And then if they received an owner-occupied rehab grant, you would have to do another fair housing action that is different from that one. And we do review and compare the fair housing actions. You always have to be affirmatively furthering fair housing within your community, and that's why you always have to step it up with every single grant that you receive from us, and make sure you are hitting different audiences there. So if you have more questions on that, we do have guidance in Chapter 5, and you can also reach out to your program representative on what types of activities would be most appropriate. And then we did receive another question. Is there anything they would like to share about how implementation schedules submitted with the application will be handled in AmpliFund? If you're a previous recipient of CDBG funds, in the past we had an implementation schedule that was a part of the special conditions. That has shifted to the performance plan and is no longer listed in the special conditions. We'll be providing additional guidance on the performance plan once we activate your awards. And so that's coming soon. So Amber, are there any other questions?
Nope, no other questions.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'll wait a couple more minutes to see if anybody else if we have any more questions filter in. Feel free to send them in to the chat. Okay, so just closing this up, I haven't seen any new questions, but feel free to reach out to me if you do have additional questions on how to complete that, or to your program representative, or both of us. We're always happy to help. first things first is once these awards are activated, the local unit of government representative will need to go in and identify the additional users that will need access to it. This is the first step. So either you have additional coworkers you want to be added as new users, and Dan went over that, or you are hiring someone to assist you with the implementation of this grant and make sure you are in compliance with all of the federal regulations. You will have to complete an external third-party form, and that's within the custom form section. That should be your very first step to do, so then you make sure everyone has access to the information. We'll be activating those awards next week. I have hopes for a certain date, but I'm not going to say it out loud in case something goes wrong. But by Friday, you should have access to all of those, all of your awards. Also, just wanted to let everyone know we are working on your contractual agreements. They are with our legal department, and they're reviewing them, so they should be coming out this December, hopefully. And just a reminder that we would like those all executed within 30 days, and please make sure you review those contracts with your local attorney in case there is anything that you need be clarified, or maybe we mistyped something. Please let us know during that review. That's greatly appreciated. Again, special conditions are due 90 days after the date of notice of approval. The first ones that are due are underneath the Public Works application awards, and those are within January, and then all the other opportunity special conditions are due in February. If you have questions or concerns about making that deadline, please reach out to your program representative, and we can figure out the next action steps. Amber, have any other questions come in? Yes, there will be a written version of these notes and this training that will be sent out next week, along with the recording, and I'm hoping to get that out on Monday. I believe the recording will be available then. So, and you guys, everyone who's registered will get an email directly with that information. We also did, if you are new to the environmental review records, we did conduct a full certification training on environmental review records and did record that. So I'll be providing a link to that for your reference in case it's been a while since you've attended a certified administrator training or even completed a environmental review record. So. Amber, I'm not seeing any more questions from you. With that, we will conclude this meeting, and thank you all for attending.